It's like, all right, so you can like digitally simulate an experience that is like your fundamental driver in life, pretty much. Like, it is literally the payoff you get for being alive, as far as I can tell. Like, you basically get this like hit of heroin in the brain naturally from an experience where you have to be brought together under the most intensely intimate circumstances with another being. And it's like, nah, we can just simulate that now for free. Like, it's crazy. And so if you apply that to all of these different aspects of life, like, yeah, you can fake your way through the whole thing. But I guess I'm just trying to understand like why it's so I feel like we're all disturbed by the transhumanists, but I'm trying to understand exactly what it is that freaks me out. And I think it's the neglect of reality that results from it.
The thing about like actual real sexuality is that it requires this kind of ultimate vulnerability from human beings, where you do have this kind of rendering permeable of these kind of psychological boundaries that are normally much more rigid. And I think that does facilitate a kind of, I want to say liberation in a way, a kind of like self-transcendence, at least a little drop of it, as it were. I mean, there's something like deeply spiritual about actual sexuality, and I do think it is to the detriment of Western spiritual traditions that they have tended to neglect that so much. There is this underlying impulse, which I think you could call a will to existence. Even Richard Dawkins calls it that. You know, I mean, he thinks that it's just a matter of replicating genes, but it is there, and I don't think it's just an implicit poetic turn of phrase. I think there is a genuine impulse towards something, and I don't think that something is a specific goal. I think that something is a kind of experience, and I think this refers back to what we were talking about at the very beginning. We were talking about like the nature of light and color and all that, and music. The integration of diversity into unity is, I believe, the experience of beauty, the experience of numinosity. And that, you know, if we take what Steiner's saying seriously, and I think he's right about it, at the very least this part, that our universe really is this cosmic fractal of some sort that is constantly undergoing these cycles of separation and reintegration to create difference and then create unity from that difference, then it appears to be that is the engine of being itself. And ultimately, I think that is what our universe is doing. It is trying to achieve the ultimate feeling of experiential intensity.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, that's what sex is too, right? Like we were talking about before. Literally like taking two extremely different perspectives, very different experiences, and then you unify them in this instant, essentially. And of course, you know, your biological reality rewards you as best as it possibly can for that experience. And it's almost like every single experience that is transcendent or profound or rewarding in some sense is merging these diversities into this unified moment. It's kind of blowing my mind.
But anyway, if you're getting all of that out of a freaking box, you don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to let down your guard. You don't have to deal with the fact that there's another person that can like judge you. There's no.
And you might really need judgment too. Like that might be really good for you, actually.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's like you don't want to do it, but it might be really good for you and everybody you know, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, like everything challenging about that is good for us. And so the idea that you could just take all of that away and just have the damn heroin, like we know what happens, because we know what happens to people who get addicted to heroin. It's not pretty.
Yeah, I still see it as really just being especially a neglect of reality, especially as that transhumanist ideal is capturing a lot of the more wealthy people on the planet. and you see the wealth being accumulated in fewer and fewer hands, then you have the opportunity for this ideology that is deeply neglectful of the reality, the real natural reality of the earth, and that most people are experiencing because they can't buy into the transhumanist agenda even if they wanted to. And so you have this bizarre abandonment of the world.
It is really categorically different from anything that's happened before, right?